It's that time for the ultimate test, the one and only Dingus Questionnaire! All right, we're back for another Dingus Questionnaire. Make sure you go check out the main interview I just did with these two creators of the Daily Mobster, but they're about to tackle the Dingus Questionnaire. You all are about to be known. You ready to get into this?
Let's do
it. All right. So, this is interesting because this whole questionnaire is made with the basis of, talking questions for comic creators, but obviously the Daily Mobster is something that has like this sort of film background to it in a way too. So a lot of these, I'll say you can kind of answer with either kind of like comic or kind of like film answers to it. But what is the story, or maybe even a specific issue that made you a comic junkie?
Oh man. That's really difficult. So for me, I've had like several incarnations in my life. Like I used to read comics, but not like aggressively. I just had some when I was a kid. And then it kind of faded away, and then I had more when I got back into art school, and it was like a whole thing. But so I'll say like recently what has sort of re-inspired me to like get back, and I think it's the Black Sad series by Canellis. I mean, I just think that's so fabulous, and I mean, it's very mobstery, noiry, which fits as well. It's gorgeous illustration and really fun character development.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm not really a comic reader. I've never been. In fact, I read my first graphic novel this year when Jack gifted me Reckless by Ad Brubaker and is it Sean Phillips?
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I really enjoyed it, and it made me think. First, I felt shame for not reading. That's always a very shameful thing. That's because I spent my youth really playing video games. So a lot of my experience, even getting into this, the visual telling format comes from, video games with a cinematic twist on it. So I think if I were to say what's the video game that made me kind of really interested in storytelling and just story development, it was I believe a 95 or 96 video game called Blood and Omen Legacy of Kain. It's an old PlayStation 1 game. And to this day, I think that game is one of the most interesting experiences ever made. And I played the sequels, but the original is the one that I still remember in my head, and the feeling and the characters and the world really still resonates with me. So that would be the first time where the story aspect really connected with me in a way that made me think, okay, well, maybe I have stories to tell.
Nice. Next question. In the comic world, there's always the debate, Marvel or DC. What is your preference?
Shame on me, I dislike superheroes. That's a very strong statement. I don't dislike. There's plenty of good ones. Like if it's a Batman thing, I'll read it. I love Gotham Year One and all that stuff. I'm just tired of superheroes, and Slavic and I have both worked on a lot of the movies, so they don't resonate with me quite the same way.
That's right.
But if I had to pick, I would say I would generally read the DC stuff only because of Batman, and that's where I usually live.
All right.
I think I'm a little bit of an outsider, even though I have worked on, Jack worked on X-Men, Days of Future Past. I worked on the previous Spider-Man, No Way Home, Black Panther 2. I think I like Marvel a little bit more. There is a certain maybe warmness to Marvel that DC doesn't, and I think DC has like
That's true.
A slight coldness to it, just in their storytelling.
Very interesting. I think.
And I feel like Marvel is a little, that warmness maybe is a little more appealing to me.
Mhm.
Even though I'm also in the same boat as Jack. I really don't care for superheroes as much. But I remember when I was in my 20s, the first Spider-Mans with Tobey Maguire, the Sam Raimi films, all the way up to 3, I was really excited to watch them. And at that time, there was still one-offs. You could say there were 2 X-Men's that were done. I think the Hulk was maybe the first one was being created or already got released, and it was more of a unique thing at that time. And I remember really liking the films, especially the second Spider-Man. Probably the highlight of maybe the whole franchise for me.
Sure.
So Marvel.
Plus, you got a
Check.
million Spider-Mans in your house.
Yes, I do. I have a 4.5-year-old, and he loves Spider-Man. So
Nice. There you go. What about your favorite hero?
Ooh, man. I mean, I do. If I have to pick, yeah, from the kind of the big scale, I think that is why I like Batman. I think that he's not super. He's a regular guy that has a lot of money and a lot of access and has a massive chip on his shoulder that he needs.
It's a traditional answer. Mine too, but like it's there's a reason why he's the most popular answer, I think.
Yeah. I think it resonates, and particularly in the what we're writing, I think it resonates there. None of these are.
Yeah.
I can't say none. There are some people that have special powers, but most of our characters are just regular people that have either great opportunity or access to power. And I think there's something very human about that.
Yeah. What about you, Slavic? What is your favorite hero?
that's a difficult question because heroes.
It doesn't have to be a comic book.
Yeah. Any sort of medium.
I keep thinking about villains all the time.
Pick one. Some villains are heroes.
But a lot of the interesting heroes, they have their flaws, and then when you really think about it, it's like Karate Kid, right? We have Ralph Macchio. He plays what's his name in the story?
Oh my gosh. LaRusso, so whatever. I don't remember. Wait, no. Wait.
Everybody knows who he is, right? And then I don't know if it was 5 years or 6 years ago, somebody released a video saying he's actually the villain of the whole story, and they give examples of how he's just getting into fights, creating tense situations, and there goes your hero. Watch him as he goes, and he turned to a villain really quickly within 5 minutes. I changed my mind, and so
you're not answering this one.
I don't know if I have an answer.
That's fair.
But I hope that Karate Kid story.
I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
You have to watch the video. The guy gives facts. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that he's not a friend. He's not a good friend.
It's interesting.
Troublemaker.
Well, on the flip side, much more up your alley here, Slavic. Who's your favorite villain?
Well, there's probably a lot, but I'll pick one. I think, and I'll go back to the answer that I gave earlier in Blood and Omen: Legacy of Kain. Kain is a very interesting character because he starts out kind of like as a regular person, and then through his choices to try to make things better, he does some really terrible things to a lot of good characters.
Sure.
And I feel like a really good villain is a much more complex figure in a lot of ways, and just like Ralph Macchio and Karate Kid,
Yeah.
So I would say he's definitely a memorable one, but a favorite one, these are really difficult questions. Just very difficult questions for me. Jack, take it away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good ones, but I think if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be somebody from childhood. Probably a Disney movie that we've all grown up on. there's so many like great ones that drive stories. It's probably like I really liked Scar as a kid, like such an epic villain and a little bit misunderstood, you know, kind of just lost. And they all are, right? Like they've all been wronged in some way, or at least through their eyes. But you know, the appealing design also helps. You get a great animator behind it and a great voice, and it makes it super memorable.
Yeah. For sure. This next question was kind of already actually answered in the main interview, so make sure you go check that out down below. But how would you adapt the Daily Mobster if given the chance?
Yeah, it's a great one, and it's changed over time. So when we originally created this, we had pitched it as an animated series. I still think my goal would be to have it adapted to some kind of an animated, ideally stop motion series. I could see it ultimately working as well in a live action setting, very kind of a la Dick Tracy with a lot of prosthetic makeup and crazy character designs. But it would be very difficult to pull off. So I'll stick with stop motion animation would be great.
Yeah, I think and getting another great director's point of view on the story and what resonates with them, I think would do the justice, because I think the comic book, we're really telling from our perspective in a way that feels correct to us. And I don't know if adapting that, straight on and just putting another format would work. I would imagine really kind of almost recreating, the adaptation process in the film or animation would have to be strong enough where it really gives this a whole new life, a whole new way of looking at the story. And I think that would do the justice, and I'd be very happy with that.
So what story would you want to see adapted into a movie? Is there any particular like comic that you've read, or for you, Slavic, maybe if there's a particular game that you'd like to see adapted into a movie?
Well, I don't want to say Blood and Omen Legacy of Kain again, but
I mean, hey, if you want to, you can.
I almost have a feeling they probably will do it at some point, just because they're running out of original ideas, or they have run out and they're just looking back. Oh boy.
So
Well, Jack, if you give me a second to think, if you have an answer, that'd be great.
I mean, I would like to see Black Sad adapted into like an animated film or series. I think it'd be really great. I mean, there's so many that I feel like could be adapted or should be.
I feel like maybe, I don't know, the game Metal Gear Solid.
I was gonna say the same thing. Didn't they try that? Did they try?
I think
Hideo Kojima doesn't let anything be adapted is the problem.
Well, like, I think they're working on that. I feel like
they might be.
I mean, I hope so. I would actually go out and try to watch that. I feel like that world that he set up, that he created with his team, has enough of interesting characters, enough of interesting ideas that he explores that are really beyond the video game. Where I feel like a really great actor could pull off that character, and and there's a lot of action, but that action is not pointless. It really has a story-driven component to it. So
for sure,
I think that'd be really nice.
So they are working on one. The directors behind the newest Final Destination, that director duo was working on it. So
interesting.
So we'll see. Anyway,
not getting my hopes up, but I hope
we'll see.
But I hope it becomes something really amazing. I mean, I think it would be great if it works out.
I think it's a hard franchise to adapt, but we'll see what they do with it. Let's have a little bit of fun with the crossover here. Let's take the world that you will have of the Daily Mobster, and let's say like some Elseworlds version of the Iceberg Lounge opened up there, where you have the one only Penguin from Batman, running the place there. How do you think that would go down?
Sorry, so you're saying like a character from another universe?
Yeah. So if, say like the Penguin entered into your world. They have like there's a whole Iceberg Lounge opened up there. How do you think that would what would happen?
I mean, shit would go down for sure. I don't think Leo would be very happy with that. I think he would. Well, Leo's an interesting guy. I feel like if you stay out of his way, he might not bother you too much. But we all know the Penguin won't stay out of his business. Right. I think the Bostons would just railroad it. They're like, no, we don't need that smut in our town.
I feel like Mickey would be like, Uncle Leo, I found a new cool place to hang out at. You gotta go to the club with me.
I feel like it'd be a good fit. It would fit in the world. How long it would last is a great question. The Penguin would definitely get caught up in the turf wars.
What about like Mount Rushmore of creators? Comic creators is obviously where the intent of this is, but be opened up with if you will, their own specific film directors.
Well, I guess Stan Lee belongs there, period, right? I mean,
right,
just,
of course.
And funny enough, at one point I was working in Hollywood, and I was working at a commercial studio that overlooked the Chinese theater. And I don't remember the commercial I was working on, but I do remember one day there was some commotion downstairs, and I looked down, and everyone's going like, what's going on? And it's Hollywood, it's crazy over there anyway on the bottom. So, sure. And it was actually Stan Lee getting his either a star or the Hall of Fame. I don't know if the Prince, they were doing something, but it was with Stan Lee. And I think at that time I didn't realize how much of a kind of like a cool moment that is. I'm like, all right, cool, Stan Lee. I don't really read comic books, but now looking back at it, it's like, I should have went downstairs and checked it out. So let's put him there just because I don't read comic books, so I only know of only a few creators.
Sure.
I would say Francis Ford Coppola, just because he made Megalopolis, and I almost really respect him for that more than like anything else that he's done. And he's done some incredibly amazing things, but I don't think there was anybody else pulling off Megalopolis. Not just dealing with it from a creative and what you think about it, but in terms of he financed it himself. When Hollywood said no to him, he said essentially, F you Hollywood, I'm going to do it my way. Yeah. I'm going to fund it my way. Like, who else has done that? Like, not saying anything bad about James Cameron, but he's obviously incredibly wealthy, right?
Right.
Is he financing his own Avatar or something along those lines? That I'm not sure about. Maybe he is to a certain degree, but I think Francis Ford Coppola, and actually the fact that his daughter Sofia Coppola made Lost in Translation, maybe not just him in a little bit more. I just like that history of his family and how much it's ingrained into the Hollywood history on so many different levels. And I was watching a video that, when she was young and she was acting, and she wasn't like the best actress, right? But she was still trying, and she was acting like when she was a teenager at this like really strange age. But the fact that she made such an amazing film as a director, just really, I don't know, makes that family feel very special in terms of Hollywood history.
Yeah.
Let's put one from video games. Hideo Kojima is a good one. I loved the Metal Gear series. It has influenced me actually quite a lot in terms of getting into animation, video games. The fourth one, because it needs to be 4, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember her name, but this is a lady that has done the score for Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh.
I actually reached out to her once and said, you're just amazing. You've done an amazing score to one of the best video games ever created with one of the most memorable scores ever. So Let's put her there. Why not?
Michiru Yamane.
Yeah.
And she
Nice.
replied, and she was very friendly, and she was
Oh,
very,
nice. That's
yeah,
the best.
she was very
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Jack, what about you? What's your Mount Rushmore? You have a Mount Rushmore of comic writers?
Want to stick with comics and not crossover?
You can do whatever you want. I'll leave it open to you. However you want.
I would put. This is a funny one because it's one of those things where someone's been referenced and iterated on so many times that the source material almost feels diluted or kind of cliche at this point. But I mean, Frank Miller for me is like, he kind of redefined the whole visual style of what a comic could be. I don't necessarily particularly love the books themselves, but I think as a creator and as like a visionary, I mean, I think it's very similar to like the Francis Ford Coppola thing. Like it's more for what he did for the industry and kind of changed the look and feel. And obviously it's heavily been referenced in what we do. Like it's very, very noir, very gritty.
Yeah.
I've always liked Mike Mignola's work. I really love that style. I just think it's a really appealing kind of creation thing. I'll switch to film directors as well. For me, Guillermo del Toro is one of my like go-tos. I just love that man as a person. I love his work. Again, I don't particularly like think his films are the best ever. In fact, I don't even own most of them, but just his vision and his creative drive and sort of, he's kind of got the do-it-all personality. He's kind of, there's been a lot of F you Hollywood in there as well. Like, I'm going to do this my way. Anti-AI, love that for me. Okay, that's three. Let me think of one more.
I've also seen him from my desk. He was
Yeah, he's
roaming the halls at
Nice.
Murata when he was partnering with them, and I got a chance to see him from a couple of feet away. That's kind of like been my experience with most directors. I see them from a couple of feet away. Either their back is turned or they're busy doing something.
And
Nice.
then I'll throw in. I mean, we could put Brubaker in there. I think just the sheer amount of prolific work that guy has put out is kind of astounding, and it's not bad either. Like, you can compare him to like a novelist, like a James Patterson or something. It's like, after you've hit 500 novels, like, they're not good anymore, and they're all. But like, Brubaker's stuff is pretty consistently, like, sometimes for me he botches the ending, and I'm a big ending guy, but he's got it. Like, I don't know, that's crazy to put out that much amount of work.
Is there a particular line or quote that lives rent free in your head from anything at all? One particular quote?
I don't think so. I'd probably end up picking something really stupid and cliche. That
Fair enough.
Because those are the ones that are repeated the most, right?
Well, I have a quote. I mean, it's a little bit. It's from our comic book, but I didn't write it, so maybe that's why it resonates with me. Jack wrote it.
Sure.
We have a scene in chapter 4 where I did the visuals, and the whole time we were thinking, do we need this scene? We can just cut it out with the milkman. But for some reason, we felt like, no, let's not cut it out. But we didn't know what to do with it, and this process took, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And we tried different things, and it didn't work out. And then Jack one day wrote in something about Tolstoy and War and Peace and Anna Karenina. Milkman. And I won't spoil the quote because it comes in kind of like
now.
Well,
spoil any story.
Well, the milkman is essentially leaving his barn where he was living. He's on a special mission, and he's talking to the rooster as if the rooster understands anything. But he's talking to him in such a serious way that that's what sets up the joke. And he's telling him how Tolstoy, when he first wrote Anna Karenina, I'm not butchering it. It is Tolstoy, not Dostoevsky, right?
It's Tolstoy.
That he hated it, and this is something I didn't know about, even though I am Russian, and shame on me once again. But thankfully, I have Jack as a partner, and he knows all this stuff. So he wrote this quote where Milkman says, like Tolstoy, it's really the punchline of the joke. But you know, Yushik, which is the rooster, like Tolstoy, I also hated Anna Karenina. And to me, it solved the scene. It made that scene have a meaning on all sorts of levels, and it solidified it in a way that I remember that moment really vividly.
Yeah, the
And
context is he's coming to grips with what he's doing as a human being, and he's sort of processing that in real time with this rooster. I think he had the quote reversed, but he goes through this whole thing about like Tolstoy and these stupid books, and like, but they're epic, and they sold it. He hated it, but what could he do? Like it was done. He had to publish it. There's nothing he could do. And then, yeah, the punchline on the joke is he goes, you know what? I'm a lot like Tolstoy. And you think he's going to like say he's like this epic person. He just goes, I also hate Anna Karenina, which I think is kind of funny.
Nice.
Yeah, it puts a button on that scene and kind of like,
there you go. There you go. It's funny that you bring up the milkman specifically, because that is also the main character or focus of my next question is just it's out of all songs and stuff out there, what would be his go-to listen song? Song he'd go listen to when he's out doing his milk runs?
Oh, the milkman.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's fun. That's a fun one.
We're talking about modern songs.
Yeah. You can throw in any songs out there. If there's any, like, what would you think he'd go listen to?
You could go so many different ways that it would be.
He strikes me as a Radiohead from 2000s listener. He would find some deep meaning, even though those albums were quite amazing and deep in their own way. But I think he would look at them in a pretty interesting way.
Yeah,
I would go one of two ways. He's such like a stoic kind of like emotionless character, and like you don't feel like a lot's going on there. So I could see like contrasting it with like like your music's like some Meshuggah or something like really intense that he's just like casually driving. But if you had to pick something like era appropriate, it'd probably be like the I just want to see the world on fire, like that song.
Yeah.
Something funny like that.
Yeah. See that. Great stuff. 2 questions left. Next is what would be the dream Daily Mobster crossover? If anything could cross over with it, what would you want to see crossed over?
Man, these are tough things that I don't think about. I mean, the obvious and easiest crossover would be like a Dick Tracy type of thing, but that almost like dilutes the two properties. I think it kind of
Sure.
they share some similarities that I think would be too weird.
Sure.
Let me think.
You have any ideas, Slavic?
Not something I've even thought about, so it's almost I'm thinking about it for the first time.
I'd love to hear.
I mean, I almost feel like it would have to be something so different that it, really stands out from.
Luckily, our world does kind of traverse genre and time space a little bit, so I think you could squeeze some really weird.
You know who I would love to get in there? Like George from Seinfeld. on one of the mobster teams. I feel
he does feel
he would be a
great answer.
Larry, really, would it be George or Larry David? Which one would you like, Jack?
I think George. George is
good one.
Maybe Kenny Banyan.
Yeah.
Comedian. Because we don't have a comedian, right?
We don't have a comedian.
Getting him would be pretty amazing.
All right. You have anything, Jack?
Oh gosh. Okay. I mean, I could see just like totally out of left field and like, man, that is a very difficult question.
It's all good if there's nothing immediate.
Yeah, nothing's coming immediately to mind.
That's fair.
But I'm sure we could work almost anything into it.
I was saying, I was trying to think myself and being like, what would be something kind of out of left field that could work good, and I think the setting that you all made can definitely lend itself to a lot of things. So for sure. Anyway, last but not least, what is just one piece of advice you have as creators to another creator? Obviously, it could be as broad or as specific as you want. What's just one piece of advice to any fellow creator that you'd give?
I think for me, there's sort of the just do it consistent kind of thing. I think so much good stuff never gets made because it's always I'll do it tomorrow or I'll get to it or one of these days I have this idea for this story or this script and it just never really gets done. I think if you're afraid of it not being good enough or you're afraid of never actually finishing it, that's sort of going to kill it right from its birth. So I would say just start it in any iteration that you can. And that's part of why this is what it is. You know, we had big visions of it being on the screen and animated, which is a crazy big undertaking with a massive budget. And we scaled it down to something that we could produce ourselves. So, and it could be scaled even further. It could have just been written. It could have just been a novel or, you know, like whatever it is, I would say just do it and then be prepared for that consistency. Like I do think it's easy to give up along the way. It's easy to get overwhelmed. I mean, I was burnt out just this morning complaining to Slavic. It happens and it's hard. It takes a lot of effort, but I think the stuff that ultimately makes it is just out of pure sheer will. Like just, I want this to be made. So, yeah.
I think there's a couple. One that was told to me a long time ago by a gentleman, I forget his name, but it was at a time where I was trying to get into directing. I already had done a few projects on my own. And I was essentially going to producers, executive producers, and kind of saying, like, you know, here I am, I'm interested. Do you have any vision? Do you have any ideas what I should do next? And he essentially told me, learn how to zigzag. In our heads, when we're first starting something, we kind of have like this idealized version of how things are going to be. And then there is real life, and the reality is it's going to be a lot messier, a lot more complicated. And embracing the idea that you have to zigzag to get somewhere, as opposed to this linear straight line, and just keep straight. And what that means is, look for opportunities that come up, look for different ways of thinking, look for changing the direction if you think it's appropriate. If you think, I can move forward by moving slightly sideways as opposed to just moving straight. So if your original plan is not working out the way you'd like, you can always rethink your strategy a little bit, see what other opportunities are there for you to still move forward with whatever you're doing. And the other one, which I think we really embraced on this project that we didn't embrace on the last one, is utilize all of your strengths and try not to do something that uh, needs your weaknesses, right? So the previous project that we were doing was a mobile game, and even though we completed the game and it's a fun game, we're probably going to be relaunching it. One of the problems with it was that neither Jack or myself are game developers, and we're just artists. So we were working with a game developer to, help the project come alive. And on this project, on the Daily Mobster, we really embraced like every one of our strengths that we have, we're going to be utilizing on this project. So, for example, I have a strong inclination towards lighting, towards character performances, staging, cameras, and we're utilizing all of that. And Jack, for example, is very good at creating poses and very intricate kind of things visually, whether it's drawn or it's in 3D, where it gives this whole other aspect to the character that I don't really provide, like because I don't think along those lines, right? So instead of me trying to do what Jack does, I do what I feel like I'm really good at, and then I hand it over to Jack. Jack then adds his touches, his nuances, his experience, and then it gets handed back off to me, where I once again look at it from a bigger picture with the full context of lighting, character performance, the whole thing, and I judge it in another way, right? So we're always utilizing our strengths, and we're trying not to get into our weaknesses. And with weaknesses, we're trying to realize what they are, A, but then B, we give them to other members of the team to do properly. So we're not trying to do something that we're not really good at or we don't love to do.
Excellent. Well, I think that's all great pieces of advice and answers all across the board. As that wraps up the Dingus questionnaire, thank you all so much for joining. We'll see you
Thank you,
next time
Spencer.
here at the Dingus Den.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye-bye, everybody.